Don't let the charm of cobblestone streets and cute cafe signs fool you. That street you just turned on, it might be named after a man who trafficked in flesh. And no, I don't mean metaphorically. I mean human cargo, stacked, shackled, and sold. Right here, New Orleans, Biloxi, Natchez, different cities, same blood soaked money. Now, let me tell you how I even got here. As I started doing my research on different places, I started noticing something. The same names kept coming up over and over again. And I was like, hold up, I've seen that name before. And that's how I realized the guy connected to Angola prison was the same guy behind one of the biggest slave trading operations in US history. Then I started seeing the name Duke du Maine, first in New Orleans history, then in Biloxi, both tied to the slave trade. And that's when it hit me. These weren't isolated stories. These were the same people, connected across cities, plantations, ports, and ships. It wasn't random. It was a system. A sick system, but a system nonetheless. Let's go back to the early 1700s, before the Confederacy, before plantations, back when Louisiana was still a French colony. And just so we're clear, France had a major role in the transatlantic slave trade. They trafficked over 1.3 million Africans across the Atlantic. French colonies in the Caribbean and Louisiana depended heavily on enslaved labor for sugar, indigo, tobacco, and more. So, yeah, France was deep in it. One of the key names behind that system was Louis Auguste de Bourbon. He was the illegitimate son of King Louis XIV. But the king loved him so much, he made sure he still had a place in the family. In 1673, he basically did the paperwork to make him legitimate, or in our terms, he signed the birth certificate. That move gave him land, gave him power, and it gave him a title, Duke du Maine, which means Duke of Maine. Now, don't ask me where Maine came from. It's not the Maine in America. It's a region in western France near Le Mans. But that's not important. Let's get back to the story. In 1719, one of the very first slave ships to bring enslaved Africans to Louisiana was named after him, the Duke du Maine. That ship docked in Biloxi, which was the capital of French Louisiana at the time, and later made its way to New Orleans, which had just been founded a year earlier. Now, was the Duke actually involved in the slave trade himself? That part isn't clear. He probably didn't own the ship personally, but let's be real. You don't name a slave ship after someone unless they supported the system or benefited from it. So, whether it was his money, his influence, or just his name, he was a part of it. That ship wasn't just a boat, it was a beginning. It helped launch the Louisiana slave economy. It was part of a larger system where rich French families made fortunes off stolen people and stolen labor. Same names, same ports, same people. The folks making money in Biloxi were also getting rich in New Orleans, Natchez, and Vicksburg. They didn't pay wages, they had no payroll, just human property, free labor, full profit, zero shame. Now, let's talk about the name. The Duke's title came from three parts: Duke, the royal rank, du, meaning of, and Maine is the part that he was going to be ruling over. Put it together, and you get Dumaine, and that's where Dumaine Street in New Orleans comes from. So when you see Dumaine Street, you're looking at a legacy tied to French royalty, the slave trade, and colonialism. But here's the twist. That same street runs through a city where at one point, free black people outnumbered the enslaved, and black culture became the heartbeat of New Orleans. The Duke du Maine probably never imagined that. And I know somebody's probably thinking, oh, so I guess you want all the names changed now. Nah, that's okay. I don't really care if they change them or not. I do have a problem with the Confederate names, because I still don't understand why we honor the losers of the war. But as for Dumaine and Bourbon, nah, they don't bother me one bit, because I know they're probably rolling in their graves watching all these black folks walk up and down their street, free, unbothered, and unbought. But whether the names stay or go, just remember this. When you're walking down here in the South, every step you take is on land that holds a story. Some stories were buried, some they tried to erase, and some are still whispering if you're willing to listen. Because let's be real, this country was never just built on freedom, it was built on systems of ownership, silence, violence, and survival. Built on names they still honor, built on bodies they try to forget, built on black pain, and still standing because of black strength. And now, we carry it. We speak for the ones they silence. We walk roads named after the people who would have sold us, unbothered, unbought, and undeniable. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more stories they won't put in your textbooks. Peace.